nuclear plant, which is on the coast between Orange County and San Diego. And we're just sitting in our house, my wife and myself, and all of a sudden these sirens go off. Like, what the heck is that? Like, once or twice a year they have these tests. But they always tell you, we're going to have a test next week, so we do it twice a year, so don't worry about it, just a test. There's no test. What the heck's going off? Do we get in the car? Where do we go? And all of a sudden they go away, and then we hear them again a few minutes later. What's happening? So I go on the internet, and they say, there's a leak at San Onofre nuclear plant, but don't worry, it's contained. Go about your own business. There's no problem at all. Everything's just fine. There's leaking radiation about 10 miles away, but don't worry about it. It's all good. But stay out of the sun, of course. Make sure you stay out of the sun. But nuclear radiation leaking, that's just fine. Just go about your business.
By the way, you guys hadn't heard this, and I don't blame you for kind of double-taking. I mean, I don't make stuff up, but you were like, really? I told you, Cass Sunstein, the White House regulations czar, said, first restrict and block their websites, but we should look at arresting. He wrote public papers for Harvard and the White House and Chicago Business School, 3 of them. You can go read them. But he said, infiltrate people that question, he said, including alternative health. That's conspiracy theory. And he said people that say any sun is good is dangerous and damaging people. They should be arrested. Wow. And he said if you question man-made global warming, you should be. But then literally, as you know, hundreds of mainline studies that moderate sun is essential. I don't need to know that. If I get a little bit down in the winter, everybody knows, go to the coast, get some sun, even if it's 60 degrees, get some sun. I feel great. It's like a drug. As a dentist, as a researcher, as someone who's looked at this, why is sun so important, and why are they telling us it's bad? I mean, I know it's linked to getting cancer, not getting sun. And guys, type in Cass Sunstein, conspiracy theory, sun is not good for you. Or Cass Sunstein says sun is not good for you. I want to show them this because they were doubting, and I could tell. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't doubting you. I'll put that on Ben. But anyway, there's this whole disease out there.
No, I don't blame you if you do. It's unbelievable.
There's this whole disease called seasonal dysphagia disorder for people in Alaska and people up in Sweden. They get it where they're not in the sun enough. Their brains don't work well. Their brain needs sun. Your body needs sun.
Well, the studies, the eyes also take the light and does a chemical reaction.
Serotonin and melatonin, our connection to spirituality, our connection to mental well-being.
Northern Europe was having huge suicides, as you know, until now by law they have to provide sunrooms and they put artificial sun in the buildings.
There's an intimate link between the sun and the pineal gland. In fact, the pineal gland itself has photoreceptor cells, so that it's
the third eye.
It's literally like an eye in your head, and it's connected to the 2 holes in your head that you call your eyes. The light goes in through your eyes and communicates with your pineal gland and converts serotonin into melatonin.
The ancients knew that. Everybody knows that.
That's right. The ancient people did know that. They used to do these things where they'd bury you for 3 days and then open up the crypt, and you get this big hit of light after being building up all of these neurochemicals in your brain. And the big hit of light would go through your eyes and would convert the serotonin into melatonin, or the melatonin into serotonin instantly. And supposedly you'd have these initiatory reactions via the conversion. The connection between light and brain health is unbelievably important. And by the way, skin cancer and cancers that are related to the sun have a link to nutritional deficiencies, because when you eat nutrients, specifically phytonutrients and antioxidants, they're literally stored in your skin and secreted in your sweat and in your sebum, so that when you get the sun, you have antioxidant protection built in when you're taking your nutritional supplements.
Well, think about it. Any parent at home knows this. When your kid's not feeling well, what's the first thing you look at?
Get them some sun.
Well, you give them some sun, but also you look in their face, you go, your color doesn't look good. Your color doesn't look good because your skin doesn't have the nutrients in it. Your skin is devoid. Any parent knows.
But even mainline doctors in the old days said, get plenty of fresh food, water, and sun.
Right. Here's another thing. Phytonutrients, plants have these pigments, chlorophyll and carotenoids and different kinds of colored pigments that require a adequate digestive system in order to be absorbed and put into the skin, specifically fat absorption. So when you have you're absorbing your fats, you're breaking down the vegetables, and the phytonutrients are getting delivered to where they need to be delivered in the skin. If you have your gallbladder removed, if you have liver problems, fatty liver, any kind of digestive issue that compromises fat absorption, you are now at risk for problems with the sun because you're missing these nutrients in your skin.
And most people now are getting fats of the wrong kind. They're degraded fats because they're getting it from potato chips and French fries and pizza, which has fat in it. But that's
what about narcolepsy connected to not getting sun?
I haven't heard.
I've seen some brain chemistry reports on that. But obviously, we're designed to get some sun. That's what our skin's for. That's how we process the vitamin A, correct?
Vitamin A, your body makes vitamins from the sun. a person who's healthy, look at Ben. Ben is healthy. His skin looks vibrant, and that's because he's getting plenty of sun. Go to Colorado where people are getting plenty of sun. They look alive. Go up to Alaska. They could use some sun.
Well, Alex said it right. Don't you feel better when you're out in the sun? How did we let people bamboozle us into thinking that this is some demon in the sky that's hell-bent on our destruction when we all know that we feel better when we're out in the sun? You go take a survey on people and ask them if they feel better when they're out in the sun, and across the board, people say...
But it's like plants need sun. I mean, we need some sun.
We're designed to have it. Anybody who says that we're not supposed to have sun is telling you a fib.
By the way, did you guys find that Cass Sunstein says that they should censor people that say, there it is, Obama's information czar calls for banning free speech, no more opinions on content, and there it is, blow it up so I can read it. Thank you. For radio listeners, Sunstein also cites the benefit of global... Sunstein also cites the belief that global warming is a deliberate fraud as another marginal conspiracy theory to be countered by government action. In reality, the majority of Americans now believe that the man-made explanation of global warming is not true and that global warming is natural, according to the latest polls. I guess you didn't find the part where he says... don't, because I mean, it's in his paper. He says, I know Paul Watson wrote about it. He says, it says that it's a lie that you need sun. So that's the part about go after folks that say global warming isn't real.
Well, yeah, I love the fact he has sun in his name. Isn't that hysterical?
Oh, yeah, and then, I get it.
You can't have sun. I can't think of, well, they're trying to make the most basic things. If they can tell you the sun is bad, then what else won't you believe? I mean, when they can take that away from you, like being in the sun is a bad thing.
What about the UN 2 years ago at Copenhagen? Because people were pointing out the sun's driving climate, not us. And they had a vote and said the sun does not affect climate.
Well, it's a good thing they voted. Yeah, because
the sun doesn't affect climate.
Yeah.
Is that what they said?
Okay, guys, type in UN votes and says sun does not affect climate. They're not going to believe me.
That big nuclear reactor out there isn't affecting anything. I guess not. It's like why does it get cold at night? Because the sun's gone. It's, it affects climate just a little bit.
Now you were talking about mainline medical doctors are good people. They're just ignorant.
They're indoctrinated into a system that tells them how to think. And because of that, they come in there with good intentions. They want to do the right thing, but they're told the right thing is something else. And because of that, that's what they do. If you get in a car accident, you want to see a physician right away. They know how to fix bones and take care of you. They're great at critical care. But when it comes to preventative medicine, they're told a whole story and a mythology, and they bought into it because if they don't, they're not in anymore. They're on the outside.
And they don't make money. I mean, if they tell you, hey, this nutrition will reverse this, then the big medical companies that finance the medical schools aren't going to give them money.
But the average doctor doesn't even know any of that. He's not tied into a big money in the medical school. He's just tied into wanting respect of his peers and believing what his teachers tell him is true. So if all you hear for your whole life is this way of thinking, right, that's what you adopt.
Also, we've abdicated. We've voluntarily given up responsibility for our health, and we've created a vacuum in a sense, and the medical people have just taken up that role. Medicine should be about heroic measures. If you have a heart attack, if you get hit by a car, if you need stitching up, and it does wonderful work in that regard. But somehow they've taken on a role that should be ours as individuals.
Well, they're trying to take control of the whole society. I mean, the technocrats above them say that. They want to make us sick so they can then sell us what allows us to live.
Well, they're managing things now. It's not about helping you get better. It's about how do we manage this.
Well, it's a binary illness. The big pharma, the system, the bad food, the GMOs, the additives give you the illness, and then they give you the treatment.
Well, we are via nutritional supplementation, via dietary strategies, via lifestyle modification. We have so much power. We can do so much to take the ball back into our own court to restore our health. It shouldn't be the medical model's responsibility to make us better. It shouldn't be the medical model's responsibility to keep us healthy. Unless we have an accident, our day-to-day health is our responsibility, the responsibility of parents for their children, and the responsibility of individuals themselves. And to me, they're just taking on, we've created a vacuum.
But the government's fostering that. Look in Chicago, where if you bring your own lunch to school, there's some schools where they take your lunch away and throw it in the garbage, even though the parent packed the lunch, because they say, well, we don't care that you packed the lunch. We don't care that you're a parent. We're throwing the garbage because this is what your kid's going to eat. Yeah. So the government's becoming the parent.
That's right. Well, there's been a nanification. It's the nanny state. It's this idea that we can't do it ourselves, that we have to have somebody else take care of us.
And they make you weak. Of course, we need the government to protect us from everything, even from our own thoughts, even from our own food.
Well, that's why in those nanny state cities, they take the guns, the crime rate goes up. It doesn't make you safe. The cops can't protect you all the time.
No, but they get you dependent to the point where you need someone else to take care of you. You're not supposed to think for yourself. I mean, even in school nowadays, excellence is breeded out of you. Excellence is breeded.
No, they admit that. You're right, Doc. Now, Dr. Corey Gold, what woke you up?
You know, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm always been counter to a lot of things. I'm always contrarian. When everybody's talking about one thing, when everybody's thinking the same thing, somebody's not thinking. And I think very early on, I was listening to a few of the alternative thinkers out there and said, you know, there's something organic about that rides in my chest. I just can't not listen to that message and hear it. Because sometimes when the truth is out there, it rides with your heart and you go, there's something that guy's missing.
Well, your subconscious brain's more powerful. It knows bull.
Well, yeah, and also then you start saying, well, wait a second, why do I think what I thought before? Well, just because everybody's telling it to me doesn't mean it's accurate. Maybe they just heard from somebody else and they're repeating the same bad thing around. And so I started reading and going to school, and in school they teach you how the body works. And when you start saying, well, why don't I just give it what it needs?
Right. That's what we said in pharmacy school.
Right. And so when you start saying, why don't we just provide it what it needs? It doesn't mean nothing ever will go wrong.
Right.
But why should we assume it will go wrong? Why don't we try to fix? I take care of my car. A lot of people take care of their car better than they take care of their body because they know exactly what to do. I change my oil every so often. I do this every so often, but they don't know it with their own bodies because they were trained not to know.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's this detachment that we have from our own bodies that allows us to go to some outside authority to tell us what's wrong with us. Most of us don't really feel inside our bodies. We don't know where our pancreas is. We don't know what our liver does. We don't know about our skin. So we feel somehow detached and disconnected, and that allows us to go to a doctor and say, hey, you tell me what's wrong with me. Hey, you fix me. So it's this idea that we have to become reacquainted with our bodies. We have to become reacquainted with how our bodies work.
But, I mean, the best way to describe this is, as you know, breast cancer off the charts.
Right.
U.S. is the highest in the world, thousands of percentile what it was 50 years ago, spreading all over the Western world, wherever we follow this modern GMO, tainted food, additives, all this garbage that we're just told is the way it is. And they're only talking about how to find a cure for it once you get the breast cancer.
Right.
They're not asking, why is it exploding?
Right.
Yeah, everybody's walking to find a cure. Why isn't everybody walking to find the cause?
Kentucky Fried Chicken sponsors the race for the cure. I always found that pretty interesting.
We should find the race for the cause.
Race for the cause.
I know this. I can eat one piece of Kentucky Fried Chicken as a scientific test, one drumstick, days of headaches, feeling dirty. I mean, just grungy. It's got so much MSG. Well, you know the story of MSG. Tell them.
Right. Well, MSG, monosodium glutamate, is it's a very fascinating story. The Japanese pioneered it so that they could feed their soldiers the crappiest food ever, and it would taste good. MSG is an excitotoxin. It makes your brain excited. It makes your brain happy. So you'll eat Spam, and your brain will go, yippee! Wow. Exactly. It makes your brain happy and excited. So they figured, well, put it in everything, and it allows you.
These additives are artificial drugs.
Basically, they make you think that you're eating a filet mignon when you're eating Spam.
Oh, well, you're a pharmacist. I know on average, they teach them more than doctors about the metabolic system with this. What is MSG doing?
MSG, monosodium glutamate, is classified as an excitatory neurotoxin, meaning it stimulates the brain to make it think it's really happy and really excited.
Just like other poisons like methamphetamine.
Now, you have excitatory neuropeptides in your brain. That's a normal part of brain chemistry. The problem is when you eat lots and lots of them, these excitatory neuropeptides are regulated tightly, as they should be, because if you have too much of them, they're toxic. The problem is we're getting them in all of our foods, Kentucky Fried Chicken and fast foods and Spam. And so it's the amount of these excitatory compounds that makes them toxic.
And then your body gets used to them, and when you go back to eating foods that don't contain them, they don't taste as good
Right.
to you anymore because your body's saying, wait a second.